All right, it's Sandra again. I am so happy you have decided to join me, you ladies out there, and even if there's some guys. Today we're going to talk about what happened to the family unit. As you all know from my first two videos introducing myself, it's been close to 20 years ago my marriage dissolved, and my thoughts were to speak to you all about what I feel is happening in the world to break down the family unit. I feel that we've left God. I know there are some family units that are still together, but right now, the Institute of Family Studies says too many American children experience the hurt from broken bonds at an early age. About 35% of American adolescents live without one of their parents, and around 40% of American children are born outside of marriage. And if the biological parents split up, then usually what they're saying is the children most of the time are with the mother, the father's not around. And although there are some instances that the father does have connection, but they say those are few and far between. It's not common. And it said this is the exception to the rule, especially when parents were never married in the first place. So what I read when I did this research, and it's what I always knew in my heart, God instituted marriage in the very beginning. In his word in Genesis, he made man and woman, and he had them go forth and multiply, have children, and that was the first family unit. Well, there is a gentleman that does these studies. His name is Raj Chetty. He is the preeminent researcher on this topic of social mobility. He's saying that having fathers in the neighborhood is a primary factor in predicting upward mobility in income for the children later in life. So basically what he's saying is when a father is not in the home, then that percent of children that I gave you earlier, their chances of, having a greater income, upward mobility as far as jobs, and they even link it to when the father's not around, and we're seeing it today. Young men are involved in crimes. Young men are going to their delinquent. They're out doing drugs. They're stealing cars, and there's even the young ladies doing that. But for the women, or the young ladies, I should say, they're saying that if a father is not around, that father instills confidence in that young lady, and if it's a good man, and he gives them the ability to know they can do whatever they want to do as they get older. So the male factor, I'm not discounting the mother because they're very important, but the research that I read let me know that a male, the father figure, if he's going to be a good example, they are very, very important. Now, my personal opinion, because I went through my trauma almost 20 years ago, my personal opinion, if there are other male figures that are around those children as they grow up that can be a positive influence on them, if that father figure is not going to be a good influence, he should not be in the picture at all, because that influence could cause them to do those negative things. So, the father figure is extremely, extremely important. It said that family structure influences the choices that children will make. Boys without fathers are more likely to do drugs, engage in criminal behavior, go to jail, and drop out of school. So, it comes down to, this is me. I have a friend that's actually helping me do these videos. He did a short video on weak men. Now, my question is, where are the God-fearing, strong men like my father? I mean, men that stood with their families, no matter what. I mean, I'm looking around and I think, what is happening to society? And if the family unit breaks down, then what happens to society? Because the family is the backbone of society. So that's why we're seeing the smashing, they call it smash and grabs, the stealing, the looting, the young ones, 13 and 14, here in my local area. They are stealing cars. There was something on the local radio station. There was a young lady that got caught, and the police, she was only 13 or 14, the police called her mother, or one of the reporters. Her mother had no idea where she was. And it appeared that she didn't care. Now, if we do not, as adults, care for our young ones, then they're lost. We have to step up and do better. And I'm not judging anyone, because I have been there, and it's hard. It's very hard to raise children alone. I raised 2 children alone, my oldest from about 14, and my youngest was only 4. So the only thing that I can positively tell you is, because of the spiritual influence, or the foundation of faith that I have a connection that in my church with people that were just able to help me. The old saying that says, it takes a village. I used to not think about that the way I do now, but it truly takes a village, or it takes a handful of people. I look back now, there were 2 people that were instrumental in helping me, because I was needing to work after I was left alone. And one lady that was extremely close to me, she developed an illness and is not with us anymore. But the other lady, a close friend of mine, she's still a friend. I will never forget her kindness. But you cannot do it alone. But you have to seek individuals that are going to be good influences to your children. And if you do not, they're going to find their own friends, and they're not going to be the right influence that you want your children to be around. We as adults or parents, we have to love our children and show that we care. If we have to put ourselves above, we have to put our children above ourselves. And that's showing that you're not selfish. So it's like, you have to, that is one of the things that Christ came for, was to be a servant. And that is a attribute that we have to show to our children. We have to be selfless. We can't put ourselves before our children. There is a verse in closing, and I truly hope this helps what I've said. You can make it. Find you a group of people. If you're not a spiritual person, find a group of people as a unit, some sort of affiliation that can be a positive influence on your children. For me, I'm a person of faith, and God has put people in my life to help me when I desperately needed the help. But there is a verse that God put in my hands when I was getting this little video together, and I think it is awesome. It's the NIV version of Philippians chapter 2, verses 3 and 4, and it's talking about what I just was talking about, being non-selfish, being unselfish. It says, "Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility regard others as better than yourselves. Let each of you look not to your own interests, but to the interest of others. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves." So, in this instance, we're talking about valuing our children above ourselves. And, you know, my oldest is disabled mentally. He is autistic. And, you know, I have set aside probably doing a lot of things possibly I could have done to better myself so that I could put my child first. And also to my daughter, I made sure that she had positive people there to be, like when I was working, someone to be with her that was gonna be a good influence. So to me, that verse, those verses are what, for me, we as Christians have to do. We have to be selfless. Think of our children before ourselves. I hope this has helped. May God be with you. You young ladies raising your children alone, you can't do this. Put your children before yourself. God bless. Bye.